Welcome, and from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, and if you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know. Now, let's get started with the animal news of the day, starting with an article by Outdoors.com. Service dog gets loose and chases deer in Glacier National Park. So, this took place in northwestern Montana. Let's see, where's my mouse? A bystander was sad and disgusted when a service dog, although the bystander does not believe it was a real service dog, got loose from its owner in Glacier National Park and ran off trail to chase a deer. Benton. Okay, that comes from a 14-year-old video that occurred back in, I think it was in Richmond Park over in London. And there was this herd of red deer that was running down the hill in the park, and you're hearing just Benton in the background, and everybody's wondering what's going on. And this herd of probably 30 deer is running down the hill, and then you see the owner running, and then there's this dog in the background chasing the whole herd. And I don't think anybody got hurt despite them crossing a busy road in the area. Beginning of the video, you see a person straining to keep a dog at bay, but then the dog breaks free and runs off into a field. It's blocked off to visitors. The dog chases a deer off into the distance as bystanders share a few choice words about the situation. Sad and disgusted by not one, but two misrepresented um service animals getting loose and chasing off wildlife in Glacier National Park, wrote the human behind the human behind the Reggie's Big Crew Instagram account. So we have an unidentified individual in every way. All we know is that he might um, be part of the primate family. This is a disgrace to people who actually require task trained service animals to enjoy the parks. It makes it harder for the legitimate service animals to work. Um, oh, yeah, because they get programmed to their natural instincts. Not to mention that this behavior is unsafe for everyone involved, especially in grizzly country. It's more that the deer are probably not going to be feeding in this area for quite a while after this incident. Depending on how many deer this affected. The person claims to have reported the incident to park officials. Is there a video? No. For the record, service animals are allowed in Glacier. Here are some of the park's rules for bringing service animals into the national park. Okay. Yes. You must have it harnessed, leashed, or tethered. Food for a service animal is a bear attractant and must be stored accordingly. And service animal fecal matter must be picked up and disposed properly in a trash container. Um, okay, okay, watch a service dog chase a deer in Glacier here. Oh, yay. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Where's Okay, I guess I don't scroll very far. This is over in the Rocky Mountains. Yeah, it's not giving me a oh, no, okay. What it Oh, um what wait, can I zoom in? No, of course not. I don't know how he let go. It's almost like it was released. Okay, well, this is definitely a lone mule deer buck and no, Is this a mule deer? Might be. I mean, he shed all of his winter fur. It is early June. No, not early June. It's early July. When did this take place? Uh, Here, I'll go back. No, it doesn't say the dates. I think it was June at the top. Okay. Oh, this came out in the past um couple of days. Well, yeah, they are forming their antlers at this point, and the velvet cannot be used as a defense mechanism. It is extremely delicate. So that's where you have the cartilage forming inside, um, connected by a series of blood vessels. And so the velvet is simply the protection, the exterior protection for the forming antlers. And so eventually, come August, they will shed their antlers, and so at that point, the velvet will be dead, and that's why you tend to see a lot of blood stains on their antlers at that period is because they've just shed the velvet, and it's just leftover blood. It's no harm to the animal, but apart from that, um, it definitely on this buck specifically, if this is a mule deer, he it's got almost though sort of like a whitetail sort of physique because it doesn't seem to have necessarily the bulkness of a mule deer, but, you do have somewhere around, 150 to 200,000 white-tailed deer within Montana, with a handful. The population of white-tailed deer, though, I don't think the estimate is out there for Glacier National Park specifically. Same for, mule deer, but there's somewhere around 200,000 mule deer within, um, Montana, especially just west of the Missouri River. And then they do coexist with smaller elk and mule deer populations within the park. Okay, well, that was interesting. Was there anything else? Sad and disgusted by wait, hold on. Okay, not to mention that this behavior is unsafe for everyone involved, especially in grizzly country. To be clear, I was not filming this with any intention of fake spotting the service animals in question. I was trying to enjoy the wildlife we encountered hiking without disturbing it. I just think complaints are funny to read. But yeah, that was odd. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on the dog and deer situation in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's dive into the next article by National Geographic. New gentle giant dinosaur uncovered in Patagonia alongside rare collection of ancient life. A team of 18 interdisciplinary specialists, including National Geographic explorer Diego Pol, have unearthed a new titanosaur in the Anacleto Formation of northern Patagonia. So this formation is actually one of the more well-known ones within Argentina. It takes place somewhere between 75 to around 83 million years ago during the mid Late Cretaceous period. So this is when you have at least over 9 different species of sauropod that have been discovered here. So the long-necked dinosaurs, along with around 8 different species of theropod carnivorous dinosaurs, have been discovered here. A variety of different species of a belisaurid, even shows one in the background, and megaraptorids have been discovered, especially the more famous Aristoian. So, you have handful of crocodilomorphs as well, and you have a variety of reptiles and even a handful of mammals. Rio Negro Province, Argentina. Okay, so this is posted March 5th, 2025. National Geographic explorer Diego Pol and a team of researchers and paleontologists from Argentina and Uruguay working in the Anacleto Formation near northern Patagonia have identified a new long-necked dinosaur species, Chadatitan calvoi, described in Revista del Museo Argentino Ciencias Naturales. So I'm guessing this animal did not have a tough time obtaining females during the breeding season because apparently he is a Chad. The new species, whose name means Titan of the Salt, owing to its discovery near an extensive salt flat, is a herbivorous titanosaur belonging to the Rhynchosaurian group, known for their uniquely slender bodies compared to other titanosaurs. Chadatitan was a small, slender dinosaur estimated to measure about 7 meters in length. So we're talking somewhere around 23, 24 feet. Its well-preserved bones show that it had elongated vertebrae and delicate limb bones that set it apart from its relatives. Yeah. Oh, I've seen this channel. Yeah, this guy is really good animation. So I'm guessing this is supposed to be Chadatitan? So these are relatives of animals such as Argentinosaurus and even later animals such as Nemectosaurus and Alamosaurus. Now, granted, Nemectosaurus is from Mongolia and Alamosaurus is from North America, all which are titanosaurs. In addition, Pohl and the team of researchers also uncovered the first fossil record of neoclic. Just sometimes I do enjoy looking at a variety of different families of not just sauropods, but many prehistoric animals in general. But there are many instances where, especially if I don't come into contact with the name very often, it can be a bit of a hassle to pronounce. So, Neokyclotidae, tidae, a family of tropical land snails. Oh, I okay. And the first undisputed record of these subulina genus of Leptinariae, a kind of small tropical air-breathing land snail. How did we just go from sauropods to land snails? I mean, I understand they can be discovered in these different formations, but that was just abrupt. These findings were among a trove of fossils that shed light on the ecosystem of the time and the diversity of ancient life that coexisted with Chatatitan in the Anacleto Formation roughly 78 million years ago. Guess you could say halfway through the time frame in which the Anacleto Formation takes place. The collection includes garfishes, lungfishes, turtles, crocodile relatives, dinosaurs, snails, and clams deposited in what was a small pond surrounded by sand dunes and palm trees, and what was an otherwise arid environment. What it means by crocodile relatives have been discovered here is a variety of different species of crocodile morphs. Now, I do not know whether or not they've discovered the first caimans here, because this is around the time that the first caimans had evolved, which are close relatives of today's crocodiles and alligators, garrels, and even freshwater crocodiles over in Australia. There's around 28 different species of crocodilian today. But this was around the time when the first true crocodilians started evolving. But crocodiles and alligators wouldn't evolve until the later mid Cenozoic era. There have been a variety of different species of garfish and lung snails in different Cretaceous formations. And regarding the dinosaurs, also a handful of different ornithopods have been discovered here. Certain nodosaurs have also been discovered in this region, along with the theropods and sauropods. To mention pterosaurs, though, in addition to Chatatitan, the fossils we identified of mollusks, fish, and turtles enriches our understanding of this ancient ecosystem and expands our knowledge of life in Patagonia near the end of the dinosaur era. I mean, at this point, they still had around 12 million years, said explorer Diego Pol. Just by looking at the presence or absence of species in an area can suggest what makes the environment unique. In this case, the abundance of turtles and scarcity of crocodiles compared to regions in Europe and North America during the same period further highlights how Patagonian ecosystems were distinct as the continents drifted apart during the Cretaceous. Well, also at this point, it's not just crocodiles and turtles that, well, let me phrase that. Um, the abundance of turtles that places like the Anacleto Formation had. You also had the abundance of sauropods, which, depending on where you were in different parts of North America, you would have found less sauropods in different formations around this time. North America still had a variety, even different parts of Canada, Mexico. Now, you go into Europe and there's not as an abundant amount of sauropods. They still exist. Also, a different variety of different types of theropods as well in those regions, and many species of troodontids. Well, also, especially in North America. One of the most remarkable aspects of the discovered fauna is the overwhelming abundance of freshwater turtles, which makes up more than 90% of the recovered fossils. Wow, that's quite remarkable. Now, it hasn't shown or it hasn't mentioned anything about like what of Titan that they've discovered. So far, it just mentions the fossil. And I have a feeling that they didn't find the skull of this animal, and it could have been just a rib bone or um, maybe a thigh or up thigh bone or upper shoulder blade, because they're not mentioning, somewhat of a even half complete skeleton. This high percentage is highly unusual, as in coval sites from North America and Europe, turtles rarely account for more than 50% of the fauna, said Federico Ignolin, the first author on the paper. But that is quite remarkable considering turtles were apparently quite successful with this region. Pohl's work, that would also mean in many instances that it wouldn't have been necessarily arid. You would have had a variety of different floodplains that ran through here, and it would have been quite humid. You would have still had your dry and wet seasons. It wouldn't have really received any snow in this region. But it's not that's why they mentioned earlier, that was quite arid, and there were different ecosystems within the Mesozoic era, whether you're looking at the Triassic, Jurassic, or Cretaceous, that had a variety of different semi-arid ecosystems, but there was still enough vegetation to supply all these large herbivores. Um, But if you're finding an abundance of turtles, I would think that it would be quite, lush in vegetation. Not that there aren't certain desert ecosystems today where you have these riparian areas, so areas where, it tends to be a variety of different types of marshes and wetlands running through, and that's where you find the variety of turtles. But I think somebody's being a bit misleading here. Hall's work is supported by the National Geographic Society and aims to broaden our scientific understanding of dinosaurs and vertebrates that existed throughout Patagonia during the last 15 million years of the Cretaceous period. His work will also build a database to help researchers identify extinction patterns at the end of the Cretaceous in South America relative to other regions of the world. Through the discovery of Chattatitan cowboy and this rare collection of ancient life that lived alongside it, Pohl's work provides a valuable source of information to guide our understanding of the evolution of life during the Campanian Maastrichtian time lapse in Patagonia, said Ian Miller, National Geographic Society's Chief Science and Innovation Officer. Oh, so this is from somewhere around 77 million years ago to 66 million years ago, so around the last 11 to 12 million years of the Cretaceous period, and when it mentions the Campanian Maastrichtian timeline. Diego and his team of global experts, researchers, and lab technicians are bringing to life new insights about this lost world. And okay, it's just being a bit repetitive. Well, that's unfortunate that they never mention what they found of the sauropod. Um, also, um, it didn't mention when. Did it even mention when the sauropod was even discovered? Um, yeah, this could have been years back. Like there are many instances where this could have been a sauropod that was simply put into a wastebasket, like just stuck into the titanosaur lineage of dinosaurs or of sauropods. Maybe even put with little Lithostradia, which is what animals like Austroposeidon were a part of. But that animal was found in Brazil and lived a bit. Actually, might have been similar to this time frame. Um, but the thing is that we don't know when they found it, how much of it was just newly identified due to it being put in a wastebasket. So let me know what your thoughts are on this sauropod dinosaur, Chatted Titan, in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's dive into the next article by Boston Herald. Oh, sharks chomping on seals off Massachusetts, feasting on dead whale off Long Island. Right in time for the 50th anniversary of Jaws. I'm guessing this is possibly a harbor seal we're looking at, but Antarctic monk seals can also have a black pigment. And what's that other species of seal? There's like three different species of seals that now and then can have a black pigment. Oh, there's a Mediterranean seal species that can also have a black pigment. But okay, so that looks like where the sharks have been feasting on him. They're going to be going after the blubber first. And I'm not just saying that so they rip it off before they get to the liver and the heart, all of the organ meats that are high in different vitamins, but simply because they just love that part of the seal. Seal with a white shark bite was reported near Long Nuke Beach in Truro. With warm weather here and more people out on the water, great white shark sightings are rising around the region. There has been an uptick in confirmed white shark activity off the Bay State in the last week, including reports of sharks chomping on seals and taking hooked striped bass from fishermen. Wow. Um, there are also around 6 different species of seals that inhabit different parts of New England, especially during the winter months. Well, I'd say from November to May, you have different species of seals like hooded seals, even Arctic ring seals, but hooded seals also inhabit the Arctic. See who else? Gray seals, harp seals, but year round is where you have the harbor seals existing. Harbor seals also reach around 400 pounds. Females are slightly larger than the males. Also, sharks were spotted feasting on a dead humpback whale off Long Island. And there are also Atlantic populations of humpback whales that migrate to the region. There's definitely been an uptick in confirmed sightings this week. Shark researcher John Kilsom, Kissom, Chisholm told the Herald. Right right in time for the 50th anniversary of Jaws, added Chisholm, who confirms shark sightings for the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy's Sharktivity app. Oh, yeah, recently, there have actually been quite a few, apps that have been put out there to, watch the different populations of not just sharks, but even when it comes to the wildebeest and zebra migration going on in the Serengeti over in Tanzania. and a variety of um, migration areas for both marine and terrestrial animals. It's also a good sign that we're seeing a variety of great white sharks within the area, considering great white sharks are quite endangered compared to how media has portrayed them. They're not very common. There might be somewhere between 2 to 5,000 great white sharks left in the wild. But this area is not just inhabited by great white sharks. Also, great whites tend to be visitors, especially during the summer. And the reason why they're coming here is because this is the time of year when animals such as the harbor seal are giving birth to their pups, which occurs between late May and early June. And there are also different sand sharks that tend to stay year round. Two other different species of sand like sharks, and then two other different species of shark, like the great white, that annually visit the region, specifically to hunt the pups and even scavenge off of dead whales that end up getting beached. The apex predators come to the Cape every summer and fall to hunt for seals. So, as expected, some of the white shark sightings in the last week include shark bites on seals. Seal with shark bites were reported near Long Nuke Beach in Truro and near Nantucket's Great Point. Also, a Provincetown beachgoer spotted a shark hunt and eat a seal? Edit, people, and ate a seal. And about 25 yards from shore. Um, oh. This Sharktivity app also has a report of a 10-foot shark taking a caught striped bass from a fisherman in Cape Cod Bay. Chisholm is hoping that more fishermen report these increasingly common incidents. Um, yeah, this isn't the first time that it's been reported where sharks will just come over and steal your fish when fishing. I mean, this also doesn't just happen off of the coast; it can happen in the middle of the ocean. And though, depending on where you are, especially further south in the off the coast of the southeastern United States, you can have it where certain alligators that have ventured out into the water, which is not uncommon for alligators to do. They can tolerate salt water, will steal your fish. I also want to raise awareness for striped bass fishermen to not linger on the side of the boat, he said. The biggest concern is when someone is at the side of the boat and a shark will take the fish and grab them too. They need to be aware. Yeah, sharks, there's many have claimed that sharks don't necessarily know what they're taking. No, they know that if human fell in the water and they will still eat the person. You are very distinct from a seal. You don't lay on well, some people might lay on the coast occasionally, just say, "Er," because that's literally how different species of seals, especially, harp seals, will communicate. Just a, "Er." During past summers, there's actually quite a, unique amount of vocalization occurring with that very, plain language. Also, when you see different species of seals pat their chest, it's not necessarily like what gorillas do. You could say in some instances it can be similar because they can actually be trying to intimidate other males, which to us it just seems quite amusing, but to them they're taking it seriously. And when you see a seal just patting its belly, it's not being funny. It's actually trying to establish some sort of hierarchy. During past summers, sharks have feasted on whale carcasses off the Cape and islands. Hmm? Off, wouldn't just be the Cape Islands? Oh, Cape and right. Yeah, I forgot that region. Some lucky sharks in recent days have been feeding on a dead whale off Long Island. Yes, many of even the seals will occasionally rest along Long Island, and then the variety of sharks that annually visit the region. But it's throughout the whole much of the coast of New England. We were returning from an offshore trip trying to locate pelagic birds for conservation research. With the boat at cruising speed, we smelled what we first thought was whale breath, so stopped the boat and scanned the horizon for a whale. Brian Doherty's posted, didn't realize whale breath smelled that bad. It turns out we found a humpback whale carcass that had been dead for a while. That reminds me of something that occurred. Some news station over in England was meant to show video of the moose migration occurring in Sweden. And the reporter says, okay, and here's the moose. And it shows two moose carcasses with a couple of eagles feeding on them. He's like, oh, that's oh, we got a couple of carcasses here. This is funny. Hey, yeah, they showed a little bit of footage of the migration later on, but I'm just saying that this incident with the whale, they're looking for a live whale and he's dead. As we got closer, the smell got stronger and we realized that there were some huge bites taken out of the whale, Doherty's added. 10 minutes after arriving near the carcass, a very large great white shark appeared and started feeding on the whale carcass. The shark was all of 15 feet and was an awesome sight to witness. That's a decent sized great white. It's not the largest. The largest great whites have been spotted off the coast of Hawaii, reaching around 20 feet in length and probably weighing close to a ton or 2,000 pounds. Well, that's a good picture. So this is off Cape Cod Bay. Is there anything else? Seal with the shark bite was spotted near Nantucket's Great Point. I don't think he's alive. Looks quite bloated. Hmm, harsh. This might be the harbor seal because of that distinct pattern on him. Meanwhile, off the north shore of Massachusetts, two white sharks were spotted during a whale watch. The sharks were seen about 10 miles north of Gloucester. The Seven Seas Whale Watch was headed out to look for whales when their naturalists spotted a shark fin. The Seven Seas will more often see see basking sharks and blue sharks. we oh yeah, basking sharks and blue sharks, they're much more common over there than the great whites. We immediately knew from the shape of this shark's dorsal fin it was neither a basking or a blue, the whale watch posted. We could tell it was either a great white or a short finned mako, both of which are rare but needed a better look to positively identify the animal. We approached it slowly so as to increase the chances of it staying at the surface. I wonder how long it was staying around for. Probably, I would assume, maybe even days and just simply feeding off of that whale or even the seal. When the shark swam into a smooth patch of water, a smooth? Oh, I'm guessing there wasn't much of a current. Near our boat, it became clear it was a white shark, the whale watch added. We were very excited. We have only seen this species a handful of times in the 42 years we have been in business. The next big surprise came when a second great white came in and joined the first. Both sharks swam in circles at the surface, allowing us to get many good looks, photos, and video. Okay, well, okay. Well, this was definitely very interesting with the sharks and seals, especially more occurrences with the great whites feeding on the seals and whales within the region. Now, they were already dead. So the question is I don't believe that the gray whites were hunting the humpbacks, but it's possible with the harbor seals. Now, with the adults, though, I mean, harbor seals will still fight back. Many seals in general tend to be put out there like they're simply defenseless. Now, you do have to remember animals such as walruses, sea lions. Those are different species of seals. They just have different unique characteristics. But these earless seals within the region, they do have ears. They don't have exterior ears. It's to help with the cold. And they will bite back at sharks, and even when they're further north in different parts of the Arctic, they will fight polar bears. They just often lose. Um, well, yeah, not including walruses. I mean, if it's a pup or juvenile, then most likely, especially if it doesn't have any tusks, there's not much you can do against a polar bear. But when it comes to pretty much everybody else, hooded seals tend to, which do inhabit this region during the winter months, a portion of the population, not all of the hooded seals. And the same goes for the ring seals. It's a much smaller part of the population. But some of these species, like the ring seal, there's over 7 million of them. Now, um, anyway, they will bite back, and hooded seals tend to be one of the more aggressive of the Arctic seals. Like, technically, they're even more aggressive than walruses. They just don't pose as much of a threat to something like a polar bear or even um, an orca, as per se, a walrus does. The walrus can have a lot of trouble with an orca. But let me know what your thoughts are on the whale, seal, and shark incidents off the Cape Bay. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's dive into the next article by today, Charleston College of Charleston student bags colossal sea lizard fossil. I'm guessing this is some sort of marine reptile. Geology major Monica Agner scored a major find during the college's annual dinosaur expedition in May. Where are they? Okay, so there's some specimen. There's a variety of different bone fragments. I'm guessing right over here. They seem to be just appearing out of the ground. There are many incidents and different fossil formations where you can just find the fragmented bones of different species of animals. Especially teeth tend to be quite common, especially if you're in certain areas like western Colorado, near Dinosaur National Monument. There are many instances where you can be walking among several Allosaurus teeth. Now, they tend to be quite fragmented. You're not going to find one with a complete root. That's extremely rare. It had been a long day in the Badlands of Wyoming. Tired, hungry, and in need of a shower, most of the field team was wilting, recalls Scott Persons, the expedition's leader and a College of Charleston professor of paleobiology. But Monica was hiking way out in front and was still carefully scanning the shale beds for fossils. Rising senior and geology major Monica Agner had earned a spot on the annual Cuff Dinosaur Expedition in May by winning a surf grant, and she wasn't about to waste a moment of the opportunity. I really do wonder what formation they're in. I'm guessing this is somewhere in Lake Cretaceous. I had bent down to collect a little vertebrae and was filling out a specimen card when she called to me, says Persons. Monica shouted, Dr. Petersons, I think I found something big. Well, I could hear the excitement in her voice. Okay, so this is part of the specimen that we were looking at in the other picture. And I'm guessing, oh yeah, here's some fragments over here. So I'm guessing this isn't a very large animal, but it's hard to say if there's more of the specimen that's been uncovered. Agner skeleton of a mosasaur. Okay, so we're in a marine deposit. A giant marine lizard that swam in the prehistoric seas at the same time dinosaurs were roaming the land. Well, I'm guessing this was back when you had the Western Interior Sea that had covered a larger part of North America during the mid Lake Cretaceous. So we're talking possibly somewhere between 75 to 80 million years ago. And as the Cretaceous continued, the sea dwindled and more land was uncovered. That's why by the end of the Cretaceous, especially when you're looking at the lower 48, Western Interior Sea was basically a very enlarged, very wide river. It was big. By person's estimation, the animal would have measured over 25 feet in length. This isn't a large mosasaur, it's more of a medium sized individual. Also, there have been over 80 different species of mosasaur have been discovered. And with animals like Pliodocarpus, even certain species of tylosaurs, these are the more famous genre that have been discovered, reaching around 20 to 25 feet. Some of these animals, though, were possibly some of the smartest, especially like Pliodocarpus, due to certain CT scans by Pliodocarpus' skull, might have been one of the smartest mosasaurs to exist. At our field site, mosasaur fossils aren't especially rare, person says. Broken vertebrae and teeth are frequently collected right on the surface, but Monica found what looks to be a nearly complete skull with the neck, back, limbs, and tail all fully articulated. Hard to tell here. The skeleton in good condition is extraordinary. Plus, it's a contender for the largest mosasaur yet found at the site. Oh, well, I mean, that's good to know, but where are you exactly? Exactly how big and how complete the specimen is. The largest sea reptile was, so far, it looks like to be Pliosaurus. It's one of the earlier, well, no, it was late Jurassic, so it was discovered over in England and existed somewhere around 160, not 165, 151 million years ago, towards the end of the Jurassic. And so it was a species of Pliosaurus that could reach a length of somewhere around 45 to 50 feet and possibly weigh somewhere between 15 to 20 tons, though it is a contender for Mosasaurus hoffmanni, which existed during the end of the Cretaceous around 67 million years ago, which could also exceed a size or weight around 15 to 20 tons. But there are estimations that Mosasaurus hoffmanni could reach a length of possibly 60 feet. On average, the animal is from around 45 to 50 feet. See, along the 2 foot long skull. Oh, it's not tiny. Traveled in a protective plaster jacket all the way from the Wyoming Badlands to College of Charleston's Mace Brown Museum of Natural History. We still don't know what formation this mosasaur was found in, or even possibly what group of the formation. So that would tell us like a more specific area and time of the Cretaceous that this animal is found. Um, what mosasaur this might be more closely related to, considering they found a skull, neck, back, limbs, and tail, but by the pictures, it just looks like a bunch of fragments. Their ignorant persons will continue to pick at, clean, and measure it. It's a tradition in paleontology that when a really cool specimen is found, one that will require lots of personal hours over multiple field seasons to fully excavate and lots of lab hours to study, the discoverer gets to give the specimen a nickname, says Persons, pointing to examples like Sue, the big T Rex, and Lucy, the Australopithecus. So we asked Monica what she wanted to call it. In honor of her big sister, Agner named the sea lizard Hillian. So, Jillian, this mosasaur loves the Mediterranean. It's a Latin name, but we don't know. We don't know um, what this mosasaur, like within its family, was closely related to. Hmm. Okay, well, let me know what your thoughts are on this technically unnamed mosasaur in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's dive into the next article by ABC News. Experts issue warning about invasive fish that can survive out of water. This is the first time a pond loach has been found in the Maritimes region. Hmm. Pond loach. Worst. Oh, that's for something else. An invasive species of fish that can live out of water has been found lurking in Canada, experts warn. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans Canada confirmed reports of Miscernus anguillicaudatus. So the Miscernus, this is the genus in which this invasive fish belongs to, and this is the specific species, Anguillicaudatus. Also known as the oriental weatherfish or the pond loach in the Lahave River near New Germany, Nova Scotia. This is the first time the species, which can survive on land, has been observed in the wild in the Maritimes region in eastern Canada, according to the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council. The invasive species poses a significant threat when introduced to native ecosystems, officials said. The pond loach can reduce aquatic insect biodiversity and compete with native fish species for food and spawning habitat. So, this animal is having a pretty negative impact, at least on the variety of different aquatic insects that inhabit the region. So, by invasive, this is referring to animals that are usually introduced to an area and tend to outcompete the other animals, like, for instance, this fish. So, other native species that rely on the different insects, aquatic insect populations. And it's not just other fish. You have it where there's a variety of different species of aquatic arachnids that probably rely on the different species of insects within this region. And, I'm not very familiar with the aquatic maritimes ecosystem within this region, or just the Maritimes, area, and I'm just guessing that also this is going to be impacting even the birds. You could have it where even different species of mammals will be impacted by this, especially smaller species. And this loach is apparently having a devastating impact. I also don't know where it's native to. They are also known to carry parasites and pathogens. Oh, yeah, this is another thing with different invasive species. This is that they come in with different diseases. So one problem with the animal is simply that it's um, having a devastating impact on the insect life, but now it even has parasites that could harm the species that rely on the animals that it's wiping out, that are harmful to both wildlife and humans, according to the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council. The pond loach is a common aquarium species and likely was released into the ecosystem, which is illegal in Canada, officials said. Yeah, there's many instances where different exotic species are illegal to release, but there are many instances where people will just release the fish because they think that, they're setting it free and they're just adding more life to um, the other wildlife in the area. And in many instances, it's quite the opposite. That animal, and sometimes it can only take a couple of individuals, depending on how aggressive they are when it comes to overhunting. What I mean by that is there are certain species of animals, because most tend to associate the term overhunting with people. And in many cases, you can have it where different invasive species will just wipe out others, like nutria. So the muskrat, from which is native to different parts of Brazil, has been introduced to many areas in the United States, and it has a very negative impact on the native mussel populations within the regions, especially the different rivers and creeks. And the mussels help filter the water. And the nutrients, it only takes a couple of individuals, especially for certain fountains in front of neighborhoods, which will have mussels installed to help keep the water somewhat clean within the fountains. And once the nutrients find them, they quickly wipe them out. So, okay, here's the Here's the guy. Yep, he's definitely got a very loach. He's a much more robust sort of a loach species. So far, I haven't seen these in any pet stores that I know of or fish stores, despite it apparently being a very common aquatic item to purchase. Oh, yes, there can also be a variety of different species of plants that can be quite invasive in the water, especially the Southeast Asian hyacinth that has become quite numerous, or I'd say abundant, in different areas of the southeastern United States, taking over a variety of different rivers, creeks, marshes, and just choking out the native vegetation, and in turn, making it harder for native species of wildlife. Even alligators can be negatively affected by this single species. Like if you see certain plants within the water systems in different parts of the Southeast, and you tend to see a purple flower. That's the hyacinth. The problem is you're not allowed to harvest this invasive species, at least in the state of Texas. And I There's not really a reason why. There's no benefit into not doing it. Um, I'm not even sure if you're even allowed to burn it. It's insane. You would think that it would be legal to simply um remove it, so you're helping the water system, and, um, and you can't, but you're allowed to purchase it at a store. It doesn't make sense with many of these organisms, 'cause plants are organisms. It has a long eel-like body and can grow to nearly 10 inches in length. Well, that is, larger than many loaches that I'm familiar with, but by the picture, it just seemed much larger, so close to a foot. The species typically lives in shallow freshwater ecosystems with muddy or silty floors. Loaches are more of like a ground dwelling aquatic organism, so they like staying near the bottom of a shallow area. Um, don't know if this animal prefers being near like rapids, probably prefers calm streams or even lake spawns. They can survive on land for short periods due to their ability to breathe air and tolerate low oxygen conditions, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The species can propagate quickly because they are asexual and can breed young on their own. This is one of those organisms that's really hard to fight. I respect it though, but I don't like it. Um, The specimen that was found was a single egg carrying female, according to reports. We don't know if there are any others. Ken Donnelly, the supervisor of the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council, told the Chronicle Herald, a newspaper based in Halifax, "We certainly hope not." Its presence was reported as a result of citizen science, according to the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council. A witness entered an account into iNaturalist, a scientific organization that helps to identify species, officials said. iNaturalist can be a bit biased. I have used it on certain occasions. It was more just to see if certain animals were within the area, but many cases you look up a certain animal in a certain region and it would bring up completely different things. Eve cave. I'm not going to go into this, but um, if that animal, if that specific female was carrying fertilized eggs, no, let me phrase it. They can create them on their own. Um, I'm still going to guess that there's going to be more of those fish out there, considering they're mentioning that this is a problem. Definitely occurring. The butterfly bush, and then there's the hyacinth, water primrose. There are thousands of different invasive species of plants, fungi, animals throughout the world. Oh, wait, it's just mentioning the problems. Okay, well, let me know what your thoughts are on this invasive Loach over in Nova Scotia in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's dive into the next article by Sign News. Triassic reptiles were able to migrate across tropical areas deemed inhospitable to life. Using a novel method by geographical analysis, paleontologists inferred how archosauromorphs dispersed following one of the most impactful climate events the Earth has ever seen, the end Permian mass extinction. So, archosauromorphs are a group of reptiles that would branch off into the different species of crocodilians, dinosaurs, birds, even a variety of different species of reptiles, like different types of crocodilomorphs. Then you have the Rausuchians, the Pseudosuchians, that would have inhabited those two families that would have inhabited the Triassic period. Archosauromorphs first evolved, well, Archosauria in general, which is a bit more broader of a term, started somewhere around 260 million years ago during the late Permian. So it's around it started somewhere around 10 million years before the Permian extinction. Okay, this is Benguishingasuchus eremicarmimus on the Pathalasun ocean coast. So, this looks like a relative of the nothosaurs. So, nothosaurs were aquatic marine reptiles during the Triassic period and were bit distant relatives to, or quite distant relatives to the pliosaurs and later mosasaurs. The first archosauromorphs, some resembling modern reptiles and many times smaller than familiar dinosaurs, were previously believed to only survive in certain parts of the globe due to extreme heat across the tropics, viewed by many paleontologists as a dead zone. In the earliest Triassic, in new research, University of Birmingham paleontologist Joseph Flannery Sutherland and his colleagues discovered clues about how these reptiles moved around the world during the Triassic period, following the mass extinction where more than half of land based animals and 81% of marine life died. It's 81%. You tend to only hear about the mass extinction occurring on land at the um, end of the, say the Triassic? No, no, no. It said following mass extinction, referring to the Permian. So the 250 million year old extinction. This is interesting. So it says just slightly more than half of land based animals because many things make it out like 90% of all life um, perished. And that always just seems like a major exaggeration. Um, you would have it where most of the proto mammals at that time, the different species of reptiles, and then even the early archosaurs would have just perished. And this seems like a more reasonable number, or at least percentage. The authors used a new modeling technique based on landscape reconstructions and evolutionary trees. The archosauromorphs that survived the extinction event rose to prominence in Earth's ecosystem in the Triassic, leading to the evolution of dinosaurs. The researchers now suggest that their later success was in part due to their ability to migrate up to 16,000 kilometers or 10,000 miles across the tropical dead zone to access new ecosystems. Yeah, this seems to make much more sense with the quick geographical range in which archosaurs apparently had by the early Triassic. So within the first 15 million years of the Triassic period. So from somewhere around 235 to 250 million years ago. Amid the worst climatic event in Earth's history, where more species died than at any period since life still survived, Dr. Flannery Sutherland said. So, yes, the Permian mass extinction was worse than what occurred at the end of the Cretaceous period. We know that Archosauromorphs as a group managed to come out of this event or and over the Triassic period become one of the main players in shaping life thereafter. Gaps in their fossil record have increasingly begun to tell us something about what we weren't seeing when it comes to these reptiles. Using our modeling system, we have been able to build a picture of what was happening to the archosauromorphs in these gaps and how they dispersed across the ancient world. Also, when looking at animals such as the dinosaurs, if this is referring to that 15 million years of the beginning of the Triassic, technically true dinosaurs haven't evolved yet. Or possibly they might have started evolving somewhere around 235 million years ago, looking at recent fossil discoveries in early Triassic sediments. But at this point, you simply have a variety of different groups of archosauromorphs outside of the dinosaur clade. This is what led us to call our method TARDIS, as we were looking at terrains and routes directed in spacetime. Our results suggest that these reptiles were much hardier to the extreme climate of the Pangaean tropical dead zone, able to endure these hellish conditions to reach the other side of the world. It's likely that this ability to survive the inhospitable tropics much may have conferred an advantage that saw them thrive in the Triassic world. There were many instances where much of Pangaea, so the supercontinent back then, during the Triassic, actually had many instances of vast deserts. And the reptiles had to figure out a way to survive these types of conditions. Now, you still would have had a series of different regions where there would have been many floodplains occurring in different regions, even certain types of conifer forests, and a variety of even possibly areas where ferns could exist. You would need quite a bit of humidity for that to occur. But this is why it's mentioning the different types of extreme conditions is due to these different deserts that would have occurred. The evolution of life has been controlled at times by the environment, but it is difficult to integrate our limited and uncertain knowledge about the ancient landscape with our limited and uncertain knowledge about the ecology of extinct organisms, said University of Bristol's Professor Michael Benton. But by combining the fossils with reconstructed maps of the ancient world, in the context of evolutionary trees, we provide a way of overcoming these challenges. Okay, so they found more. It's good to know that they found more of their former range during the early Triassic.
Somebody asked how many extinction events were there?
Well, at least in the past 545 million years, so since the Cambrian. Well, if you're talking about mass extinctions, there's been somewhere around seven. But if you're there are also all these different mini extinctions that would have occurred. But if you're just talking over a mass catastrophe, around seven different mass extinctions. But it's just that technically you can have it where smaller extinctions occur where certain ecosystems will change, but you'll still have it where most other life and then different ecosystems will continue to thrive. They just don't um, tend to be counted as part of a mass extinction, despite in some cases losing hundreds of different species or even thousands if you're including especially insects, certain fungi species. Um, so let me know what your thoughts are on the archosauromorphs in the comments, and thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's dive into the next article by Bridge, Michigan. Michigan rescues black bear whose head was stuck in plastic lid for 2 years. Yeah, this isn't the first of his kind, but this is unfortunate to hear. So here is Bill, and um, that's pretty unfortunate. A Hillman residence trail camera captured an image of a young black bear wearing a plastic barrel lid around its neck 2 years after it was first spotted. courtesy of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Oh, it's just who posted it. So this was taken at 9:28 p.m. So this was May 25th of 2025. Let's see, it's in Michigan. So Michigan has somewhere around 13,000 black bears within the state, most of them inhabiting the northern or the upper peninsula. So that's that section of land that divides Lake Michigan and Lake Superior. So you have like Minnesota and Wisconsin to the east, and as well as Illinois. But, I think somewhere around 2 to 3,000 black bears inhabit the Lower Peninsula, but their population is increasing.
Was the bear's name actually Bill?
Um, no, I just came up with that. A young black bear in Montmorency County was freed from a plastic lid stuck around its neck for 2 years. Oh, that's nice. The lid is similar to those used to cover bait barrels. Oh, okay, so he was probably feeding in one of those, bear bear baits tends some people will put a lot of grain in these different barrels, put in syrup. Sometimes they'll even stick pizza. I've seen a variety of different types of bait. And luckily, though, he made it. But that was it's what bear hunters use for attracting the bears. Though the container opening did not meet legal standards. A human residence trail camera photo helped the DNR locate and free the bear. Um, Usually, though, they don't get stuck. For 2 years, a young black bear roamed Montmorency County with a plastic lid clamped around its neck until state wildlife experts finally intervened. Hillman resident captured new trail camera photos of the bear in late May and contacted the Department of Natural Resources. On June 2nd, state wildlife biologists freed the bear, which had been living with the lid around its neck since it was first spotted as a cub in 2023. Jeez, probably stunted his neck musculature. The blue lid matches those used to cover large 55-gallon barrels, which are popular among hunters and rural landowners to hold substances known to attract bears, such as grain or feed. Though Michigan permits bear baiting, the law limits the use of bait containers to private land and requires that any openings be either under 1 inch or over 22 inches wide. It isn't clear where or how the male bear god's head stuck in the lid, but the opening does not comply with the state's bear baiting laws. So here he is. He feels much better now. Oh, so they set up a bear enclosure trap and um and basically tranquilize the bear to remove the lid. I mean, outside of that, he looks relatively healthy. I mean, he doesn't seem to be in bad condition. The rest of his fur seems quite all right. And his tongue's in good condition. He's just asleep at the moment. Container openings of a certain size can result in bears and other wildlife getting their heads or other body parts stuck in them, leading to injury or death, said Cody Norton, the Department of Natural Resources fur bear, and small game specialist in a statement. The area where the 110-pound black bear, wow, yeah, he's not very large, was found. Wait, the area where the 110-pound black bear was found has become more populated with bears over the last decade. In fact, the bear population in the northern lower peninsula has increased at a faster rate than the upper peninsula. They're probably he might be a young male that was pushed out of that region, and he happened to travel all the way down to the lower peninsula. That's a bit of a guess. But, there's a variety of different forest areas. What I mean by that is a forest area is actually a name of a certain protected area. So I'm not just referring to the whole, like different pine forests within the region, even spruce forests. So there's different national forests, state parks within the Upper Peninsula. Between 2012 and 2022, the black bear population in the northern lower peninsula increased 55%. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a very big increase. And in that same time frame, the upper peninsula only saw a 21% increase. I mean, um I'm guessing this is due to the Upper Peninsula relying on the population it already has, whereas the Lower Peninsula is receiving populations from different regions. So that's why it's able to have a quicker increase. Also, there's more territory available. Um, so it's the male bears don't have to venture as far. Michigan is home to about 13,000 black bears. State began to see a population increase after the DNR started limiting bear hunting license. Okay, so here's the oh, I was expecting though a like just his skin. So apparently the hair had slight bit of room to grow, but nothing compared to the rest of his hair. So it's quite short. Black bears do have an area of under fur. Oh, maybe that's what that is. And then exterior layer of outer fur. So maybe his outer fur wasn't allowed to grow. Sheesh. Like how like the resting position that he would have had. Yeah, it would have been quite unbearable. Probably getting up certain trees would have been quite hard too. He's literally like a triceratops having to climb up a tree. Um, Michigan wildlife biologists found the bear had developed scarring and an abscess on its neck when they removed the plastic lid. Otherwise, they said the bear appeared to be healthy overall. Yeah, outside of that, I mean, he's doing pretty well. His fur is in relatively good condition. Yeah, I think his scalp's a bit dry, so he might be slightly dehydrated. Um, but aside from that, this time of year he's going to be a bit thin from hibernation. So hopefully he keeps growing. The DNR says landowners can do their part to protect bears by recycling or crushing containers such as empty cheese ball tubs. Yes, it occurred a little way, no, a little further back where a black bear ended up getting a cheese ball tub, or ended up getting stuck in a cheese ball tub. Luckily, people got a hold of it and they removed the cheese ball tub. It also suggests using the following tips from Bearwise, the National Education Outreach Program. Okay. Okay, now it's just okay. Well, this is nice. Bill here, who I named, uh, seems to be doing pretty well outside of the container. And let me know what your thoughts are on this black bear, even the population increase within Michigan itself. And that's it for the animal news of the day. Let me remember to like, comment, and if you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live because nothing is better than all animals all the time.